The raffle ticket trembled between my fingers as Dr. Stevens called out the winning numbers. One by one, they matched mine, each digit a tiny explosion in my chest. When he announced I'd won the luxury Napa Valley getaway, I couldn't stop grinning. 2 nights at the Golden Valley Resort, wine tastings, spa treatments, everything Brandon and I desperately needed. Congratulations, Joy! My coworker Adam clapped me on the back. About time something good happened around here. I clutched the golden envelope to my chest, already imagining Brandon's face when I surprised him. We hadn't taken a real vacation since our honeymoon 3 years ago. Between his demanding sales job and his mother's constant emergencies, we barely had time for date nights anymore. He's going to flip, I said, more to myself than Adam. In a good way, I hope. Adam's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. He'd heard enough of my marriage troubles over lunch breaks to fill a therapy session. I rushed home early, stopping to pick up Brandon's favorite takeout and a bottle of champagne. The house was quiet when I walked in. No mother-in-law camping on our couch or calling with her latest crisis. Perfect. Brandon came home late, as usual. His tie was loose, dark circles under his eyes. "Hey, babe," he mumbled, barely looking up from his phone. "I have amazing news." I set out the food, poured champagne. "Remember that company raffle?" He glanced up briefly. "The charity thing? I won. 2 nights at Golden Valley Resort in Napa, all expenses paid. Just you and me, next weekend." I held out the envelope like an offering. Brandon's fingers froze on his phone. "Next weekend?" "Yes, isn't it perfect? We can finally have that romantic getaway we've been talking about." He set his phone down slowly. "Joy, Mom's having her knee surgery next weekend. I told you I needed to be there for her recovery." The champagne bubbles turned sour in my stomach. "That's just a minor outpatient procedure. The doctor said she'd be fine in a day." "She needs me there. You know how she gets anxious about medical stuff since Dad died." "She has a whole church group ready to help her. And Tom—" "Don't bring up Tom." Brandon's voice hardened. "He abandoned her. I won't do the same thing." I took a deep breath. What if you took her instead of me?" The words felt like betrayal in my mouth, but I had to know. Brandon's face lit up. "That's perfect. Mom would love it. She's always wanted to visit wine country." The room spun slightly. "I was joking, Brandon. The prize is for couples. I won it. I want to go with my husband." "Don't be selfish, Joy. Mom needs this more than we do. She's been so lonely lately." "Selfish?" The word hit like a slap. "I'm selfish for wanting 2 days alone with my husband?" Brandon stood up, food untouched. "If you can't understand how much Mom needs me right now, maybe we need to rethink some things." "What things?" "This marriage, our priorities." He grabbed his keys. "I'm going to check on Mom. Don't wait up." The front door slammed, leaving me alone with cooling takeout and flat champagne. My phone buzzed. A text from Grace. "How'd he take the news?" I stared at the golden envelope, now crumpled in my fist. 3 years of putting Linda first. 3 years of canceled dates and interrupted moments. 3 years of watching my marriage dissolve into a twisted threesome I never signed up for. My fingers flew across the phone. "You free for coffee? I need to talk about revenge." Grace stirred her coffee with calculated precision, her eyes fixed on me across the diner booth. "He actually suggested taking his mother instead of you?" I pushed my untouched eggs around the plate. "You know what kills me? 5 years ago, Brandon would have never done this. Remember our wedding? He actually told Linda to back off when she tried to plan the whole thing herself." "I remember." "What changed?" The question hung between us like smoke. My mind drifted to our first anniversary when Brandon surprised me with a weekend in Seattle. We made it halfway there before Linda called, claiming chest pains. By the time we got to the emergency room, she was chatting with nurses about their children. Nothing wrong with her heart, just a panic attack, they said. "Everything changed after his father died," I said. "It's like Brandon's terrified of losing her too." Grace's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then her eyes widened. "Speaking of Linda, isn't that her?" I turned. Through the diner's front window, I watched my mother-in-law stride into the boutique across the street, looking remarkably spry for someone facing knee surgery next week. "Let's follow her," Grace said, already reaching for her purse. "What? No, that's exactly what we're doing." She threw down cash for our breakfast. Come on, Nancy Drew. We crossed the street, ducking into the boutique. Linda stood at a rack of designer dresses, holding up a sequined number that cost more than my monthly car payment. Can you believe Brandon? She was saying into her phone. Trying to waste that lovely prize on Joy when he knows I've always wanted to see wine country? Yes, I know the knee thing was last minute, but it worked, didn't it? My stomach clenched. Grace grabbed my arm, steadying me. Of course I feel bad, Linda continued. But what choice do I have? Ever since his father died, I've had to get creative to keep him close. You should have seen how he used to be with her, Sarah. Like I didn't even exist. The dress slipped from my numb fingers, hitting the floor with a soft thud. Linda spun around. Our eyes met. I'll call you back, she said quickly, ending the call. Her face transformed, concern replacing calculation. Joy, what a surprise. I was just looking for something to wear after my surgery. Funny, I said, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. I thought you'd be resting that knee. Oh, the doctor said light activity is good for circulation. She smiled, but her eyes darted toward the exit. I should get going. So much to do before next week. Like planning your wine tour? The color drained from her face. I don't know what you think you heard. I heard enough. I stepped closer. You're not having surgery at all, are you? Now, Joy, don't jump to conclusions. Brandon wouldn't like... Brandon isn't here. My voice dropped lower. But I am, and I heard everything. Linda's facade cracked. You don't understand. After Robert died, Brandon was all I had left. Then you came along, and suddenly he had someone else to care about. Do you know what that's like? To watch someone you love choose someone else? Yeah, Linda, I do. She reached for my arm. I stepped back. Please don't tell him, she whispered. He wouldn't understand. Grace appeared at my side, phone in hand. Too late, I recorded everything. Linda's eyes narrowed. You wouldn't dare. I thought about Brandon, about our ruined Seattle trip, about countless dinners interrupted by his mother's emergencies, about the way he looked at me last night, choosing her over me without hesitation. You're right, I said. I won't tell him? Yet. But that Napa trip, it's staying mine, and if you try to interfere, Brandon will hear exactly how creative you've gotten at keeping him close. I turned and walked out, Grace beside me, leaving Linda clutching her designer dress like a shield. Outside, my hands shook as I gulped the cool morning air. That was badass, Grace said softly. What now? I watched Linda hurry out of the boutique, phone already pressed to her ear. Now we start planning that trip to Napa, and this time, I'm not taking no for an answer. The bank statement trembled in my hands as I stared at the series of transfers. $2,000 last month, $1,500 the month before, all to an account I didn't recognize. Our savings had been hemorrhaging money for months, and I'd finally discovered why. I called the bank. 5 minutes later, I had my answer. The account belonged to Linda Parker. The front door clicked open. Brandon walked in, whistling. He froze when he saw me at the kitchen table, papers spread out like evidence at a crime scene. You're home early, he said. Funny thing about that. I held up the statement. I had to leave work when the mortgage company called. Apparently, we're 2 months behind on payments. The whistle died on his lips. I can explain. Please do. Explain why you've been sending thousands to your mother while we default on our house. She needed help with medical bills. What medical bills, Brandon? The fake knee surgery? The words shot out before I could stop them. His face darkened. What are you talking about? I saw her yesterday, shopping for designer dresses, strutting around like a runway model. Some knee problem. You're spying on my mother now? No, I'm discovering how deep her manipulation goes. And yours. Brandon slumped into a chair. It's not what you think. After Dad died, after your father died, you became her emotional husband. I get it. But stealing from our future? That's crossing a line. I didn't steal anything. It's our money. Our money? When was the last time you consulted me about our money? The silence stretched between us like a chasm. My phone buzzed. A text from Grace. Found Tom's number. Want it? Brandon noticed my expression change. Who's that? Your brother. He shot up from his chair. Stay away from Tom. He doesn't understand our family. Maybe he understands more than you think. I stood, gathering the bank statements. I'm going to Grace's tonight. Don't wait up. Joy, wait. He grabbed my arm. Mom needs us. She's all alone. And whose fault is that? I yanked free. Did you ever wonder why Tom left? Why your father spent so much time at work? Why I'm leaving right now? You're not leaving. We can fix this. Can we? Because from where I'm standing, there are 3 people in this marriage, and I'm the only one being honest. I walked out, my heart hammering. In my car, I texted Grace back. Send Tom's number. Time to hear the other side of this story. An hour later, I sat across from Tom Parker in a quiet bar on the edge of town. He looked like Brandon, but harder, weathered by years of choosing freedom over family obligation. So, he said, studying his whiskey, little brother's following in mother's footsteps. What do you mean? The money thing. It's how she controlled Dad, too. Emotional blackmail backed by financial manipulation. She'd spend recklessly, then cry about bills until he gave in. When he finally stood up to her, he trailed off. What happened? Heart attack at 55. Stress, the doctor said, but I knew better. Tom's knuckles whitened around his glass. Brandon was always her favorite, more pliable. After Dad died, I tried to warn him. He chose her side. Haven't spoken since. My phone lit up with Brandon's 10th message. Please come home. We can work this out. You know what the worst part is? Tom continued. She's not evil. She's just empty. Nothing's ever enough. Not Dad's love, not my independence, not Brandon's devotion, and now, not your marriage. How did you break free? He smiled grimly. I realized something. Sometimes loving someone means walking away, letting them face the consequences of their choices. I thought about the Napa tickets sitting in my purse, about Brandon's ultimatum, about years of putting Linda first. I have an idea, I said slowly, but I'll need your help. Tom leaned forward. I'm listening. It's time for a family reunion, one that forces everyone to face the truth, even if it breaks us all. 3 days at Grace's house turned into a week. Brandon's calls became less frequent, his messages shorter. Each one ended the same way. Mom needs me, never I need you, or come home. I threw myself into work, but even there, I couldn't escape. Adam caught me crying in the break room, staring at an old photo on my phone. Brandon and me in Seattle before we turned back. You look different there, Adam said, sliding a coffee across the table. Happy? I tried to smile. Real? He hesitated. Listen, there's something you should know. I overheard Brandon on a call yesterday during the client meeting. My stomach tightened. Brandon hadn't mentioned any meeting. He was talking about selling stocks, Adam continued. Something about needing quick cash for a down payment. Down payment? The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. What down payment? On a condo, for his mother. The mug slipped from my hands, shattering against the floor. Coffee spread like blood across the tiles. Joy, I have to go. I grabbed my purse, leaving the mess behind. 20 minutes later, I sat in our investment advisor's office, watching him pull up our accounts. The numbers confirmed my worst fears. Brandon had liquidated almost everything. The transfer started 3 months ago, the advisor explained. Mr. Parker said you were both aware. We weren't both anything. I stood up, the room spinning slightly. Thank you for your time. Outside, I called Tom. Did you know about the condo? What condo? The one your brother's buying for Linda, with our retirement funds. Silence crackled across the line. Then, meet me at Murphy's, now. At the bar, Tom nursed a scotch while I paced. She did this before, he said finally, right before Dad died. Convinced him to buy her a vacation house in Florida. Said she needed somewhere to heal after her imaginary cancer scare. Cancer scare? One of her greatest hits. Lasted 6 months. Miraculous recovery, of course. He laughed bitterly. Dad died before the closing. Heart attack, remember? The stress of refinancing everything. My phone buzzed. Brandon again? This time, I answered. Where are you? His voice was tight. Mom's worried sick. Is she, or is she too busy condo shopping? The line went quiet. Who told you? Does it matter? Were you going to tell me before or after you emptied our accounts? You don't understand? No, you don't understand. I just left our investment advisor's office. You didn't just take our savings, Brandon. You took our future. Mom needs security after everything she's been through. Everything she's been through? My voice rose. What about what she's put us through? What about what she did to your father? Don't bring him into this. Why not? Because you might realize you're following his footsteps right into an early grave. Tom flinched beside me. I'm doing what's right, Brandon said. If you can't support that? If I can't support that, what? You'll leave me? Newsflash, Brandon. You left this marriage a long time ago. I just didn't want to admit it. I hung up before he could respond. Tom watched me carefully. What now? He asked. My phone lit up with a text from Grace. Found you an apartment, 3-month lease available immediately. Another message popped up, this one from Linda. Please don't destroy my family. Brandon needs me. I stared at the words, feeling something shift inside me. Not sadness anymore, not even anger. Something colder, more focused. Now? I looked at Tom. Now we stop playing defense. You said Linda had a miracle recovery from her cancer scare? He nodded slowly. I bet there are medical records, or rather, a lack of them. Records that might interest Brandon's therapist or his lawyer. Joy, she wants to play games with people's lives? Fine, but I'm done being a pawn. I stood up, steadier than I'd felt in weeks. It's time to show Linda what happens when you push someone too far. Tom's expression darkened with recognition. You sound like Dad, right before the end. Good, I said, reaching for my keys. Because this is the end, just not the one Linda's expecting. The hospital records lay scattered across Grace's dining room table like pieces of a twisted puzzle. Tom's contact at County General had come through. Every medical file for Linda Parker over the past decade. Nothing, Grace said, shuffling through papers. No cancer screenings, no serious illnesses, just routine checkups and... She paused, frowning at a document. What? Psychiatric referrals, lots of them, all declined. My phone buzzed. Brandon. Coming home tonight, we need to talk about the condo. I ignored it, focusing on the papers. Look at these dates. The first referral was right after your father died, I said to Tom. He leaned forward, eyes narrowing. 2 weeks before she claimed she found the lump. The imaginary lump that convinced your father to buy that house. And nearly bankrupted him doing it? Tom's jaw tightened. History repeating itself. Grace's doorbell rang. Through the window, I caught a glimpse of Linda's silver Mercedes. Perfect timing, I muttered, grabbing the files. Let's see how she handles her own medical history. But when Grace opened the door, it wasn't Linda who stepped inside. It was Brandon. Mom's in the car, he said quickly. She doesn't know I'm here. His eyes locked onto the papers in my hands. What are those? Your mother's greatest performances. I held up a psychiatric referral. Tell me, did she ever mention these? You had no right. Like you had no right to drain our accounts? I stepped closer. Your father died because of her games, Brandon. And you're following the same path. Dad died of a heart attack. After months of financial stress and emotional manipulation. Just like what she's doing to you now. Brandon's face flushed. The condo is an investment? It's a trap, just like the Florida house was for your father, just like this marriage has become for me. Joy, I'm going to Napa next weekend, I cut him off. With or without you, but first you need to see something. I handed him the psychiatric referrals. His hands trembled as he read. Multiple recommendations for treatment of factitious disorder, he mumbled. Tendency to fabricate medical conditions for attention and control. A car horn blared outside, Linda growing impatient. She needs help, Brandon. Real help, not enabling. He looked up, tears in his eyes. What am I supposed to do? Choose. Right now. Stay here. Read these files, face the truth, or go back to that car and keep pretending. The horn sounded again, longer this time. She's waiting, I said softly. Brandon stared at the papers, then at me. For a moment, I saw a glimmer of the man I'd married. strong, independent, capable of standing up to his mother's manipulation. Then his phone buzzed. Linda's text lit up the screen. "I'm feeling dizzy. Please hurry." Just like that, the glimmer vanished. He set the papers down. "I can't leave her alone like this." "Like what? Perfectly healthy but desperate for attention?" "You don't understand." "No, you don't understand. This ends now. Either you stay and face reality or I'm done. And I'm taking everything we have left to court." Brandon stepped back, shaking his head. "You wouldn't." "Try me. I've got 3 years of financial records and a stack of medical files that prove elder abuse by proxy. How do you think a judge will view that?" The horn blared a third time. Brandon looked at the door, then back at me. "I'm sorry," he whispered and walked out. I watched through the window as he got into the Mercedes. As they drove away, Tom placed a hand on my shoulder. "Now what?" I picked up my phone, dialing my lawyer's number. "Now we do this my way. Book your ticket to Napa, Tom. It's time for that family reunion we discussed." "Joy," Grace warned. "Revenge won't fix this." "This isn't about revenge anymore." I watched the Mercedes disappear around the corner. "It's about survival, and I'm done being the victim in Linda Parker's tragedy." The Napa Valley sunset painted everything gold, but I felt nothing but cold as I watched Brandon's car pull into the resort parking lot. Linda sat in the passenger seat, exactly where I should have been. "Right on schedule," Tom muttered beside me. "Mom never could resist crashing a party." I clutched the envelope containing the medical records. "Did you send the anonymous tip?" "Called the front desk an hour ago. They think she's here for a surprise anniversary celebration." Brandon helped Linda out of the car, her movements deliberately slow and fragile. The same act she'd perfected during her cancer scare, now recycled for a new audience. "Show time," I whispered, stepping into view. Brandon froze. Linda's hand flew to her chest, her signature move when feeling faint. "Joy?" Brandon's voice cracked. "What are you doing here?" "Enjoying my prize. The question is, what are you doing here, with her?" Linda swayed dramatically. "Brandon, I'm feeling dizzy." "Drop the act, Linda." Tom emerged from the shadows. "We've seen this performance before." The color drained from Linda's face. "Tom, Brandon, what's happening?" "That's what I'd like to know." Brandon looked between us, lost. "Why are you both?" "Because someone needs to stop this." I opened the envelope. "Remember these, Linda? The psychiatric referrals you ignored? The ones from right before Robert's death?" Linda straightened, her fragility act forgotten. "Those are private." "Like the private accounts Brandon's been funding? Or the private conversations about the condo?" "Joy, please." Brandon stepped forward. "This isn't the place." "It's exactly the place. Where else could I get you both away from your carefully constructed reality?" "You're making a scene," Linda hissed. "No, I'm making a point." I turned to Brandon. "Your father died because of her manipulation. Tom left because he couldn't take it anymore. And now you're throwing away our marriage for what? Another of her fabricated emergencies?" Brandon's phone buzzed. Probably the front desk about the surprise celebration. He ignored it, staring at the medical files in my hands. "Mom?" His voice was small, uncertain. "What are they talking about?" Linda's mask cracked. "They're trying to turn you against me, just like Tom did. Just like your father. Don't you dare mention Dad." Tom snapped. "You killed him with your games." "I loved him." "You consumed him," I corrected. "Like you're consuming Brandon." Brandon stepped back, shaking his head. "This isn't... I can't..." "Choose Brandon," I said quietly. "Right here, right now. Your mother's lies or the truth." Linda grabbed his arm. "I'm your mother. I need you..." "No," I cut in. "You want him. There's a difference." Brandon looked at the files, at his brother, at me. For a moment, I saw clarity in his eyes. Then Linda collapsed. Not her usual delicate swoon, but a full theatrical fall. Brandon caught her automatically, years of conditioning taking over. "Mom! Mom! Call an ambulance!" Linda gasped. My heart... I watched Brandon transform back into the dutiful son, all clarity vanishing as he cradled his mother. Tom's hand found my shoulder. "Joy, don't..." I stepped back, something breaking inside me. I'm done. Brandon looked up, torn. Joy, please, I have to. Take care of her, I know. I dropped the medical files at his feet. You always do. Linda's eyes met mine through her performance, triumphant. She'd won again. I turned away, my carefully planned confrontation crumbling like sand. Behind me, I heard Brandon calling for help. Linda's theatrical moans, Tom's disgusted sigh. In my pocket, my phone buzzed with a text from Grace. How did it go? I watched the golden sunset fade to purple, thinking of all the years I'd wasted fighting a battle that was rigged from the start. Some people don't want to be saved from their demons. Sometimes they prefer the familiar chains to uncertain freedom. It's over, I typed back. Time to let go. The ambulance sirens wailed in the distance, a fitting soundtrack to the death of my marriage. I walked away from the scene, leaving Brandon to his chosen fate. Behind me, Linda's performance reached its crescendo, but I didn't look back. Some victories only come through surrender. The emergency room buzzed with fluorescent intensity as I strode past the nurse's station. Linda's latest performance had landed her in the cardiac ward, though her preliminary tests showed nothing wrong. Of course. I found her alone in room 412, Brandon presumably off fetching her another blanket or ice chip or whatever else she'd demanded. She looked smaller in the hospital bed, more vulnerable, but her eyes were sharp as ever when they met mine. Come to gloat, she asked. No, I came to give you this. I placed a worn leather journal on her bedside table. Found it in Robert's old briefcase. Tom kept it all these years. Linda's hand trembled as she reached for it. Robert's diary? His suicide note, essentially. Every manipulation, every fake illness, every financial drain, he documented it all, right up until the day his heart gave out. She withdrew her hand as if burned. You're lying. Read it yourself. Page 47 is particularly interesting. The day you first mentioned that non-existent lump. The hospital machinery beeped steadily as Linda stared at the journal. You don't understand what it's like, she whispered, to watch your children slip away, to feel yourself becoming unnecessary. So you make yourself necessary through lies? Through emotional blackmail? I keep my family close. You keep them trapped, and now you're doing it to Brandon. She lifted her chin. Brandon loves me. Brandon fears you. There's a difference. I moved closer. But here's what you should fear. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. I'm taking what's left of our money, all traceable to your fake emergencies. And this journal, copies are going to Brandon's therapist and lawyer. He'll never believe. Maybe not at first, but seeds of doubt are funny things. They grow. Just ask Tom. Footsteps approached, Brandon returning. Linda's face contorted with panic. What do you want? She hissed. Get help, real help, the kind those psychiatric referrals suggested years ago, or I'll make sure Brandon sees exactly what happened to his father. Brandon appeared in the doorway, clutching a cup of ice chips. He froze, looking between us. Everything okay? He asked cautiously. I turned to leave, but Linda's voice stopped me. Wait. She was crying now, real tears this time. Brandon, there's something I need to tell you. I watched the scene unfold, Linda confessing to her lies, Brandon's face crumpling as she described the years of manipulation, the truth about his father's death, the fabricated illnesses, the financial destruction. I couldn't bear to lose you too, she finished. Brandon sat heavily in the visitor's chair, his world reshaping itself around this new reality. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. All this time, I'm sorry, Linda whispered. I'll get help. I promise. Just don't leave me alone. Brandon looked at me, then back at his mother. I saw the choice weighing on him, the same choice his father never got to make. You won't be alone, Mom, he said finally, but you need help, professional help, and I need time. He stood up, shoulders straight for the first time in years. Joy, I'll be at Grace's, I said softly, when you're ready to talk. Linda called out as I reached the door. I really am sorry, for everything. I turned back one last time. I know, that's why I brought the journal instead of sending it straight to Brandon. Everyone deserves one chance to choose truth over lies. In the hallway, Tom waited by the elevator. How'd it go? Better than revenge, I said. She's finally facing herself. And Brandon? I watched through the window as Brandon held his mother's hand, both of them crying now, not from manipulation, but from truth. He's facing himself too. Sometimes that's the hardest battle of all. The elevator doors opened. As we stepped in, I heard Linda ask for her psychiatrist referral papers. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in destroying your enemy, but in helping them find their way back to humanity, even if that means letting go of your own need for revenge. The Italian sun warmed my face as I sipped espresso at the small cafe in Florence. Grace had insisted on this trip. Healing through carbs, she called it. My phone buzzed with a text from Tom, a photo of Linda at her therapy session, actually showing up this time. Progress, however small. Another postcard? Grace nodded at the blank card on our table. Last one. I'd been writing them throughout our trip, not to send, but to say the things I needed to say. This one was for Brandon. The waiter brought our bill just as my phone buzzed again. Brandon's name lit up the screen, his first contact since signing the divorce papers 3 weeks ago. The condo sale went through, his message read, using the money for Mom's treatment instead. I set the phone down, letting the weight of those words settle. No accusations, no guilt trips, just truth. The one thing that had been missing from our marriage for so long. You okay? Grace asked. Better than okay. I picked up my pen, finally knowing what to write on that last postcard. Not about revenge or justice or even forgiveness. Something simpler, more honest. A shadow fell across our table. I looked up to find Adam, his familiar pragmatic smile somehow softer in the Tuscan light. Fancy meeting you here, he said. Grace's eyes widened. Did you? I might have mentioned our itinerary to him, I admitted. Sometimes the best way forward is with someone who saw you clearly all along. Adam pulled up a chair, ordered an espresso in surprisingly decent Italian. We talked about everything and nothing. Work, travel, the way life surprises you when you stop trying to control it. My phone buzzed one more time, a message from Linda. Thank you for the journal, for giving me a chance to choose differently. I thought about revenge, about how I'd wanted to destroy her, to make her feel as trapped as I had. But in the end, the greatest victory wasn't in tearing someone down. It was in finding the strength to walk away, to let them face their own demons while you face your future. There's this little vineyard in Chianti, Adam said, his knee brushing mine under the table. If you're interested. Grace kicked me softly, grinning. I looked at the postcard, still blank except for Brandon's name. What do you say to someone who is both your greatest love and your hardest lesson? In the end, I wrote just 3 words. Choose yourself first. The waiter returned with Adam's coffee, asking if we needed anything else. I caught my reflection in the window, no longer the woman who'd won that Napa Valley trip, desperate to save a marriage that was already gone. Someone stronger now. Someone who understood that sometimes the happy ending isn't about winning or losing, but about finding the courage to write your own story. Actually, I said, both to the waiter and to whatever twist of fate had brought me here, we'll take another round. We're celebrating. What are we celebrating? Adam asked. I tucked the postcard into my bag, unsigned. Some words don't need to be sent to be heard. New chapters, I said, raising my cup. And the art of letting go. Grace and Adam lifted their cups too, the afternoon sun turning everything to gold. Somewhere back home, Brandon was learning to set boundaries, Linda was facing her fears in therapy, and Tom was rebuilding bridges he'd thought forever burned. And here, in this moment, I was exactly where I needed to be. Not because I'd won or lost, but because I'd finally understood that the greatest act of revenge against a life that's trapped you is to simply set yourself free. The espresso was bitter and perfect on my tongue, tasting like truth, like possibility, like the kind of peace that comes not from victory, but from finally, completely, letting go.
The shrill ring of my phone pierced the quiet of our bedroom. I fumbled for it, my heart racing as I saw the clinic's number flash across the screen. This was it, the moment we'd been waiting for. Hello? I answered, my voice trembling. Mrs. Nora Thompson, this is Dr. Patel's office. I gripped the phone tighter, willing the nurse to continue. Yes, this is she. I'm sorry, but your pregnancy test came back negative. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Another failure, another month of disappointment. I mumbled a thank you and hung up, tears already streaming down my face. "Jackson?" I called out, desperate for my husband's comfort, but the house remained silent. Where was he? I dragged myself out of bed, padding down the hallway to his home office. The door was ajar, and I could hear his muffled voice. He was on the phone, speaking in hushed tones. "I can't wait to see you either, babe," he said, his voice warm and affectionate in a way I hadn't heard in months. "I'll make an excuse and be there in an hour." My blood ran cold. I pushed the door open, revealing Jackson lounging in his chair, a guilty expression spreading across his face as he saw me. "Who were you talking to?" I demanded, my voice barely above a whisper. Jackson fumbled with his phone, trying to hide the screen. "No one, honey, just a work call." "Don't lie to me," I spat, anger rising to replace the numbness. "I heard you. Who's babe?" His shoulders sagged, and he had the decency to look ashamed. "Nora, I'm sorry, I didn't want you to find out like this." "Find out what?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. "I've been seeing someone else," he admitted, unable to meet my eyes. "Her name's Melissa. She's pregnant." The words hit me like a physical blow. I staggered back, gripping the doorframe for support. "Pregnant? But we've been trying for years. How—" Jackson stood, reaching out to me, but I flinched away from his touch. "I'm so sorry, Nora. I should have told you sooner. The truth is, I'm not infertile. It's you. It's always been you." I felt like I was drowning, gasping for air that wouldn't come. "What are you saying?" "I've known for a while that I could have children," he said, his voice cold and detached. I couldn't have them with you." The room spun around me as the full weight of his betrayal sank in. Years of treatments, of hope and heartbreak, all for nothing. And now this final, cruel twist of the knife. "Get out," I whispered, my voice shaking with rage. "Nora, please, let's talk about this," Jackson pleaded, but I was beyond reason. "Get out!" I screamed, grabbing the nearest object, a framed photo of our wedding day, and hurling it at him. It shattered against the wall, a fitting metaphor for our marriage. Jackson ducked, hands raised in surrender. Okay, I'm going. But we need to discuss this eventually. I want a divorce, Nora, a clean break." I watched in stunned silence as he grabbed his keys and wallet, heading for the door. Just before he left, he turned back to me, his expression a mix of guilt and relief. "I really am sorry," he said softly. "I hope someday you can forgive me." The door closed behind him with a final click, leaving me alone in the wreckage of my life. I sank to the floor, surrounded by the shards of our broken dreams, and let out a primal scream of anguish. How had it come to this? 10 years of marriage, of building a life together, all destroyed in a matter of minutes. As the tears flowed freely, I realized with startling clarity that this was only the beginning. Jackson wanted a divorce, and knowing him, it would be anything but clean. I pulled myself to my feet, wiping away my tears with trembling hands. If he wanted a fight, I'd give him one. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The library's familiar scent of old books and lemon-scented cleaner greeted me as I pushed through the heavy wooden doors. It had been 6 months since Jackson walked out, leaving me to pick up the pieces of our shattered life. The divorce was final now, a bitter process that had drained me emotionally and financially. But here, surrounded by stories of adventure and romance, I could almost forget the pain. Nora, Margaret, the head librarian, waved me over to the circulation desk. Her kind face creased with concern. "How are you holding up, dear?" I managed a weak smile. "One day at a time, Margaret. Thanks for asking." She patted my hand. "Listen, I've been meaning to talk to you about something. Do you have a moment?" My stomach clenched. Was she going to cut my hours? I couldn't afford to lose this job, not now. "Of course," I said, trying to keep the worry from my voice. Margaret led me to her tiny office, gesturing for me to take a seat. "Nora, you've been such a wonderful addition to our team these past few months. Your work ethic, your rapport with the patrons, it's been a joy to watch you blossom here." I relaxed slightly, hope flickering in my chest. "Thank you, Margaret. That means a lot." She leaned forward, her eyes twinkling. "Well, I have some news. Mrs. Jameson is retiring next month, and we'll need someone to take over her full-time position. I'd like to offer it to you." For a moment, I couldn't speak. A full-time job with benefits? It was more than I dared to hope for. "Oh, Margaret," I breathed. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," she urged, grinning. We need you here, Nora, and I think you need us too. Tears pricked at my eyes as I nodded. Yes, I'd love to accept. As I left Margaret's office, my phone buzzed. A text from Jackson. My good mood evaporated instantly. Need to talk. Meet me at Joe's Diner at 7. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. What could he possibly want now? We'd said everything there was to say during the divorce, but curiosity got the better of me. Fine, I texted back. But make it quick. The rest of my shift passed in a blur of shelving books and helping patrons, my mind racing with possibilities. By the time I pushed open the diner's door, my nerves were frayed. Jackson was already there, nursing a cup of coffee. He looked different. Haggard, almost. The smug confidence that had always irritated me was gone, replaced by something I couldn't quite place. Nora, he said, standing as I approached. Thanks for coming. I slid into the booth across from him, keeping my expression neutral. What do you want, Jackson? He took a deep breath, his fingers drumming nervously on the table. I need your help. I barked out a laugh. You've got to be kidding me. After everything you've put me through, you have the audacity to ask for my help. Please, just hear me out, he pleaded. It's Melissa. She's gone. That stopped me cold. What do you mean, gone? Jackson's face crumpled. She left, took all her things and disappeared. She's not answering her phone. Her family hasn't heard from her. I'm worried, Nora. She's 7 months pregnant with my child. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Part of me wanted to laugh in his face, to tell him this was karma for what he'd done to me. But the fear in his eyes was real. Why come to me? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Because you're the most resourceful person I know, he said. And because I trust you. Despite everything, I know you're a good person, Nora. Will you help me find her? I stared at him, my mind reeling. This was my chance for revenge, to watch him suffer as I had. But could I live with myself if something happened to Melissa or the baby? I'll think about it, I said finally, standing up. That's all I can promise for now. As I walked out of the diner, my phone buzzed again, a number I didn't recognize. I answered, my heart pounding. Hello? A woman's voice, trembling and scared. Is this Nora? It's Melissa. I need your help. I stared at my phone in disbelief, Melissa's desperate voice still ringing in my ears. My mind raced, torn between helping the woman who'd stolen my husband and hanging up out of spite. Melissa, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. What's going on? Are you okay? Her sobs crackled through the line. No, I'm not. I think Jackson might hurt me, or the baby. I don't know what to do. My blood ran cold. Jackson, capable of hurting a pregnant woman? It seemed impossible. And yet, where are you? I asked, already heading to my car. A motel just outside of town. The Pinewood, room 12. Please, Nora, I know I have no right to ask, but I'm on my way, I interrupted, surprising myself. Stay put and lock the door. I'll be there in 20 minutes. As I drove, my thoughts whirled. What had Jackson done to terrify Melissa so much? And why come to me, of all people? The Pinewood Motel was a seedy affair, paint peeling and neon sign flickering weakly in the twilight. I knocked on room 12, heart pounding. Melissa opened the door, her face tear-stained and swollen. Her pregnant belly seemed impossibly large, a stark reminder of everything I'd lost. Thank you for coming, she whispered, ushering me inside. I perched awkwardly on the edge of the bed, watching as Melissa paced the small room. Tell me what happened, I said gently. She took a shuddering breath. Jackson? He's not who I thought he was. At first he was so kind, so attentive, but lately he's become controlling, paranoid. He accuses me of cheating, says the baby isn't his. Last night She trailed off, her hand unconsciously moving to her arm. I noticed the bruises then, peeking out from under her sleeve. Anger flared in my chest. Did he hurt you? Melissa nodded, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. I'm scared, Nora. I don't know what he'll do next. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Jackson's name flashed on the screen. I showed it to Melissa, whose eyes widened in fear. Don't answer, she pleaded. I hesitated, then declined the call. We need to get you somewhere safe, I said, standing up. Pack your things. You can stay with me tonight, and tomorrow we'll figure out a more permanent solution. As Melissa gathered her belongings, my phone rang again. This time, it was a number I didn't recognize. Hello? I answered cautiously. Nora, it's Marianne. I need your help. My heart stopped. Marianne? My best friend, Marianne. "Who is this?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "This isn't funny." "Nora, please," the voice insisted. "I know this sounds crazy, but it's me. There's been an accident. Tom and we didn't make it. But Ethan, our son, he's alive. He needs you." The room spun around me. This couldn't be happening. Marianne and Tom had left for a weekend getaway just yesterday, leaving their 5-year-old son with a babysitter. "I don't understand," I whispered, sinking back onto the bed. "There's no time to explain." Marianne's voice urged. "Please, Nora, go to our house. Take care of Ethan. You're the only one I trust." The line went dead. I stared at the phone, my mind reeling. "Nora?" Melissa's concerned voice broke through my shock. "What's wrong?" I looked up at her, this woman who'd been my rival now seeking my protection. And somewhere across town, my best friend's child might be alone and scared. "We have to go," I said, standing on shaky legs. "Now." As we hurried to my car, I caught a glimpse of a familiar figure in the parking lot. Jackson, his face twisted with rage, spotted us and started running. "Get in!" I yelled to Melissa, fumbling with my keys. We peeled out of the lot just as Jackson reached us, his fists pounding on the window. In the rearview mirror, I saw him sprint to his own car. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. Melissa whimpered beside me, one hand protectively cradling her belly. "Where are we going?" she asked, fear evident in her voice. I took a deep breath, my mind made up. To save a little boy. As we sped through the night, Jackson's headlights looming in the mirror, I realized my life had irrevocably changed. In one night, I'd become protector to my husband's mistress and guardian to my best friend's orphaned child. Whatever came next, I knew nothing would ever be the same. The first few weeks with Ethan were a blur of sleepless nights, tear-stained cheeks, and awkward silences. At 5 years old, he was old enough to understand that his parents weren't coming back, but too young to fully grasp the permanence of death. His grief manifested in tantrums and nightmares that left us both exhausted. One particularly rough morning, I found Ethan huddled in his closet, clutching a photo of Marianne and Tom. "Ethan, sweetheart," I called softly, crouching down to his level. "What are you doing in there?" His big brown eyes, so like Marianne's, met mine. "I want my mommy," he whispered, his lower lip trembling. My heart shattered. "I know, sweetie. I miss her, too." I held out my arms, and after a moment's hesitation, he crawled into them. I held him close, rocking gently as he sobbed against my shoulder. "Why did they leave me?" He hiccuped between tears. I swallowed hard, fighting back my own grief. "They didn't want to, Ethan. They loved you so much. Sometimes bad things happen, and we can't control them. But I promise you, your mommy and daddy would be so proud of how brave you're being." He pulled back, wiping his nose on his sleeve. "Really?" I nodded, managing a small smile. "Really. And you know what? They asked me to take care of you because they knew how much I love you too." Ethan's brow furrowed. "But you're not my real mom." The words stung, but I pushed past the pain. "You're right, I'm not. But I promise to love you and take care of you, just like your mom would want. We're family now, you and me. Is that okay?" He considered this for a long moment, then nodded solemnly. "Okay. Can we have pancakes for breakfast?" I laughed, relief washing over me. "Absolutely. Let's go make a mess in the kitchen." As the weeks turned into months, Ethan and I settled into a routine. School drop-offs, bedtime stories, weekend trips to the park. Slowly but surely, we were building a life together. It wasn't always easy, but every small victory felt monumental. One evening, as I tucked Ethan into bed, he asked the question I'd been dreading. "Nora, why don't you have any kids of your own?" I froze, caught off guard by the innocent inquiry. "Well," I began, choosing my words carefully, "sometimes it's not that easy for grown-ups to have babies. I wanted to very much, but it just didn't happen for me." Ethan's face scrunched up in thought. "Is that why you took me? Because you couldn't have your own baby?" The question hit me like a punch to the gut. "No, sweetie," I said firmly, sitting on the edge of his bed. "I took you in because I love you and because your mom was my best friend. You're not a replacement for anything. You're you, and that's exactly who I want you to be." He nodded, seemingly satisfied. Then in a small voice he asked, "Can I call you Mom?" Tears sprang to my eyes. "Oh, Ethan, if that's what you want, I'd be honored." He smiled, reaching up to wipe away a tear that had escaped down my cheek. "Don't cry, Mom. I love you too." As I left his room that night, my heart full to bursting, my phone buzzed with a text. It was from Jackson. We need to talk. It's about Ethan. My blood ran cold. What could Jackson possibly want with Ethan? He'd never shown any interest in children before, unless... A horrible thought struck me. What if Jackson was Ethan's biological father? What if all those years of trying to conceive, he'd been unfaithful not just with Melissa, but with Marianne too? I sank to the floor, my back against Ethan's door, as the implications washed over me. If it was true, Jackson tried to take Ethan away. The life we'd built, the family we'd become, it could all be ripped away in an instant. I looked at my phone, Jackson's message still glowing on the screen. Whatever he wanted, whatever secrets were about to be revealed, I knew one thing for certain. I would fight with everything I had to keep Ethan safe and by my side. With trembling fingers, I typed out a response. Tomorrow, noon, the park, and Jackson, if you try anything, I swear I'll make you regret it. I hit send, steeling myself for the battle ahead. For Ethan, I'd face any storm, even if it meant confronting the ghosts of my past and the man who'd shattered my world. The supermarket's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I navigated the crowded aisles. Ethan chattered excitedly beside me. At 8 years old now, he was a bundle of energy and curiosity, always eager to help with the shopping. Can we get Lucky Charms, Mom? Please? He tugged at my sleeve, eyes wide and pleading. I laughed, ruffling his hair. Nice try, buddy. How about we compromise with some Cheerios? As we turned the corner into the cereal aisle, I froze. There, examining a box of bran flakes, was Jackson. My heart raced, and I instinctively pulled Ethan closer. Mom? Ethan looked up at me, confusion etched on his face. What's wrong? Before I could respond, Jackson turned. His eyes widened in recognition, then narrowed as they settled on Ethan. Well, well, he drawled, a smirk playing at his lips. If it isn't my ex-wife and her, what should I call him? Rental kid? Anger flared in my chest. Jackson, I hissed, don't you dare. What? State the obvious? He stepped closer, his gaze cruel. How pathetic, Nora. Couldn't have a baby of your own, so you had to borrow someone else's. Ethan's grip on my hand tightened. Don't talk to my mom like that, he shouted, his young voice ringing through the aisle. Jackson's eyebrows shot up. Mom? Oh, that's rich. Tell me, kid, does she tuck you in at night and pretend she's your real mother? Does she... Shut up! I snapped, my voice trembling with rage. You have no right to speak to us like this. Come on, Ethan, we're leaving. As I turned to go, Jackson grabbed my arm. Not so fast. We have unfinished business, you and I. Ethan reacted instantly, kicking Jackson hard in the shin. Let go of her. Jackson yelped in pain, releasing me. His face contorted with fury. You little brat! I stepped between them, my protective instincts in overdrive. Touch him, and I swear I'll make you regret it. A small crowd had gathered, murmuring and staring. Jackson glanced around, seeming to realize he was making a scene. He straightened, smoothing his shirt. This isn't over, Nora, he said, his voice low and menacing. You can't play happy families forever. Sooner or later, the truth always comes out. With that, he stalked away, leaving me shaken and confused. What truth was he talking about? Ethan tugged at my hand. Mom, can we go home now? I nodded, abandoning our half-filled cart. As we walked to the car, Ethan's small voice broke the silence. I'm sorry I kicked that man, Mom, but he was being mean to you. I knelt down, pulling him into a tight hug. Oh, sweetheart, you have nothing to be sorry for. You were so brave. Who was he? Ethan asked, his face buried in my shoulder. I took a deep breath. That was my ex-husband, the man I was married to before. Ethan pulled back, his brow furrowed. He's not very nice. No, I agreed. He's not, but you know what? We don't need him. We have each other, and that's what matters. As we drove home, my mind raced. Jackson's words echoed in my head. What did he mean about the truth coming out? And why now, after all this time? That night, after tucking Ethan in, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone. I knew I should call my lawyer, maybe even the police. Jackson's behavior had been threatening, and I needed to protect Ethan. But something held me back, a nagging feeling that there was more to this story than I knew. What if Jackson really did have information about Ethan? What if he could take him away? My finger hovered over Jackson's number. One call could give me answers, but it could also open a Pandora's box of trouble. Was I ready to face whatever truths might come to light? The clock ticked loudly in the quiet house. Ethan's soft snores drifted from his room. This was our life now, our family. I'd do anything to protect it. With a deep breath, I made my decision. I pressed the call button, my heart pounding as the phone began to ring. Whatever Jackson had to say, whatever storm was coming our way, I'd face it head on. For Ethan, for our family, for the life we'd built together. As the ringing continued, I steeled myself for the battle ahead. No matter what, I wouldn't let anyone tear us apart. Not Jackson, not the past, not even the truth itself. The cafe bustled with mid-morning activity, but I barely noticed the chatter around me. My eyes were fixed on the door, my heart racing as I waited for Jackson to arrive. Ethan was safely at school, unaware of this clandestine meeting that could change everything. The bell above the door chimed, and there he was. Jackson, looking as smug and self-assured as ever. He slid into the seat across from me, a manila envelope in his hand. "Nora," he said, his voice dripping with false warmth. "So good of you to meet me." I cut straight to the chase. "What do you want, Jackson? What's this truth you were talking about?" He smirked, tapping the envelope. Always so impatient, but I suppose there's no point in dragging this out. He slid the envelope across the table. "Open it." With trembling hands I did. Inside were medical records. Jackson's medical records. My eyes widened as I scanned the documents, disbelief washing over me. "You're infertile?" I whispered, looking up at him in shock. Jackson nodded, his smug expression faltering for a moment. "Have been since before we were married. All those years of trying, all those treatments. It was never going to work, Nora. It was always you." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Anger, hurt, and confusion warred within me. "Why?" I choked out. "Why put me through all of that if you knew?" He shrugged, but I could see the guilt in his eyes. I thought maybe the doctors were wrong, and then, when I realized they weren't, I was a coward. It was easier to let you think it was your fault. I felt sick. All those years of self-doubt, of feeling broken and inadequate, all because of his lie. "You bastard," I hissed. "Do you have any idea what you put me through?" "I'm sorry," he said, and for once he sounded sincere. "I know it doesn't make up for anything, but I am sorry." I shook my head, fighting back tears. "Why tell me now, after all this time?" Jackson's expression hardened. "Because of Ethan. I've been doing some digging, Nora. I know he's not really Marianne's son." My blood ran cold. "What are you talking about?" He leaned forward, his voice low. "I found adoption papers. Marianne and Tom adopted Ethan as a newborn. And here's the kicker. His birth mother? She looks an awful lot like you." The room spun around me. It couldn't be true. And yet, a long-buried memory surfaced. A drunken night with Tom years ago, before he and Marianne were married. We'd sworn never to speak of it, to pretend it never happened. "No," I whispered, more to myself than to Jackson. "It's not possible, isn't it?" Jackson pressed. "Think about it, Nora. The timing fits. And haven't you ever wondered why you felt such an instant connection to him?" Tears streamed down my face as the implications hit me. If it was true, if Ethan was really my son... "What do you want?" I asked, my voice barely audible. Jackson's expression softened slightly. "I want you to know the truth. About me, about Ethan. And I want a chance to make things right." I stared at him, incredulous. "Make things right? How could you possibly?" "I can help you," he interrupted. "If Ethan is your biological son, you have rights. We could fight for custody together." The offer hung in the air between us, tempting and terrifying all at once. Part of me wanted to scream at Jackson, to throw the envelope in his face and storm out, but another part, the part that had always longed for a child of my own, whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was my chance. "I need time," I said finally, gathering the documents with shaking hands. "I need to process all of this." Jackson nodded, standing up. "Take all the time you need. But Nora, don't wait too long. Ethan deserves to know the truth about where he came from." As he walked away, I sat frozen, the weight of his revelations crushing me. My whole world had just been turned upside down. Ethan, my sweet, brave Ethan, could be my flesh and blood. The child I'd always longed for had been right in front of me all along. But claiming him as my own would mean destroying the life we'd built together. It would mean shattering his memories of Marianne and Tom, the parents he'd loved and lost. Could I do that to him? Could I be that selfish? As I left the cafe, my mind reeling, I knew I faced the most impossible decision of my life. The truth was out there now, waiting to be acknowledged. And whatever choice I made, nothing would ever be the same again. The university campus buzzed with excitement as proud families gathered for graduation day. I stood at the edge of the crowd, my heart swelling with pride as I watched Ethan, now a handsome young man of 22, adjusting his cap and gown. "Mom," he called, waving me over. "Can you believe it? I'm finally done." I hugged him tightly, blinking back tears. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. Your parents would be too." A shadow crossed his face at the mention of Marianne and Tom, but he quickly smiled again. "I know, and I'm grateful for you, Mom, for everything." As we made our way towards the auditorium, a familiar voice stopped us cold. Well, if it isn't the happy family." I turned to see Jackson standing there, looking older but still as smug as ever. Ethan tensed beside me. "What are you doing here?" I hissed, stepping protectively in front of Ethan. Jackson smirked. "Can't a man congratulate his stepson on his big day?" Ethan's eyes widened in confusion. "Stepson? What are you talking about?" My heart raced. I'd never told Ethan the truth about his parentage, always planning to wait for the right moment. But now, Jackson was threatening to ruin everything. "It's nothing, Ethan," I said quickly. "Let's go inside." But Jackson wasn't done. "Oh, come now, Nora, don't you think it's time he knew about his real mother?" Ethan looked between us, his face a mix of confusion and growing anger. "Mom, what's going on?" I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came out. How could I explain years of secrets and lies in this moment? "Your mother here has been keeping quite the secret," Jackson continued, his voice dripping with false concern. "You see, Ethan, Marianne and Tom weren't your real parents. They adopted you, and your birth mother, well, she's standing right next to you." The world seemed to stop. Ethan stumbled back, his face pale with shock. "What? Mom, is this true?" Tears streamed down my face as I nodded. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. I wanted to tell you, but How long have you known?" he demanded, his voice shaking. I only found out recently," I stammered. "I was trying to find the right time to—" "To what?" Ethan interrupted, his voice rising. "To tell me my whole life has been a lie? That the woman I've called Mom for years is actually my birth mother?" Jackson watched our exchange with barely concealed glee. "Oh, it gets better. Tell him about Tom, Nora. Tell him how you—" "Enough!" A commanding voice cut through the tension. We all turned to see Arthur Callahan, CEO of a major tech company and an old friend of Marianne's family, striding towards us. "This is neither the time nor the place for such revelations," Arthur said firmly. He turned to Ethan, his expression softening. "Young man, I knew your parents, all of them, and I can assure you the love they had for you was real, regardless of biology." Ethan's shoulders sagged, the fight seeming to drain out of him. I don't know what to believe anymore." Arthur placed a comforting hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Believe in your own accomplishments. This is your day, Ethan. Don't let anyone take that away from you." He glanced at Jackson. "And as for you, I think it's time you left." Jackson opened his mouth to protest, but something in Arthur's steely gaze made him think better of it. With a final sneer in my direction, he slunk away. As the crowd around us began to disperse, Arthur turned to Ethan. "I have a proposition for you. My company is always looking for bright young minds. How would you like to join us as a junior executive?" Ethan blinked, momentarily distracted from the emotional turmoil. Really? But you don't even know my qualifications." Arthur smiled. "I know enough. What do you say?" As Ethan and Arthur discussed the details, I stood to the side, my mind reeling. In the span of minutes, everything had changed. The truth was out, for better or worse, and I had no idea where we'd go from here. The ceremony was about to begin, and Ethan turned to me, his expression unreadable. "We need to talk," he said quietly. "After all this is over." I nodded, my heart heavy. "Of course, whatever you need." As we made our way into the auditorium, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was a turning point. Our relationship, our family, hung in the balance. And I had no idea if we'd be able to rise from the ashes of these revelations, or if everything we'd built would crumble to dust. The tension in the air was palpable as Ethan and I stood face to face in our living room. His graduation gown lay discarded on the couch, a stark reminder of how quickly joy had turned to anguish. "Why didn't you tell me?" Ethan's voice was raw with emotion. "All these years, you knew you were my real mother?" I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. "No, sweetheart. I only found out recently. I was trying to find the right way to tell you." "And Tom? Was he really my father?" I took a deep breath. "Yes, it was a mistake. One night, before he and Marianne were married. We never spoke of it again." Ethan paced the room, running his hands through his hair. So my whole life has been a lie? Marianne and Tom weren't even my real parents? No, I said fiercely. They loved you more than anything in this world. Biology doesn't change that. Before Ethan could respond, a loud banging on the door made us both jump. Jackson's voice boomed from the other side. Open up, we're not done here. Fear gripped my heart. Ethan, call the police, I whispered. But it was too late. The door burst open, revealing Jackson, his eyes wild with anger and something else, desperation. You think you can just cut me out? He snarled, advancing towards us. I'm the one who uncovered the truth. I deserve to be part of this family. Ethan stepped in front of me protectively. You're not family. You're nothing but a bitter, jealous man who couldn't handle the truth about himself. Jackson's face contorted with rage. He lunged forward, grabbing Ethan by the shirt. You ungrateful little... Suddenly, Arthur appeared in the doorway, his imposing figure filling the frame. That's enough, Jackson. Let him go. Jackson released Ethan, turning his fury on Arthur. This is all your fault, swooping in like some white knight. The only person at fault here is you, Arthur said calmly. Now I suggest you leave before the police arrive. As if on cue, sirens wailed in the distance. Jackson's face paled. He looked from Arthur to Ethan to me, realization dawning that he'd lost everything. This isn't over, he spat, before pushing past Arthur and disappearing into the night. In the aftermath, as the police took our statements and Jackson was arrested for breaking and entering, Ethan, Arthur, and I sat in stunned silence. Finally, Ethan spoke. I'm sorry, Mom, for doubting you, for pushing you away. I reached for his hand, my heart swelling with love. Oh, sweetheart, you have nothing to be sorry for. I'm the one who should apologize. I should have told you the truth sooner. Maybe, he said, squeezing my hand, but I understand why you didn't. You were protecting me, just like you always have. Arthur cleared his throat. If I may, Ethan, I've known your family, all of your family, for a long time, and I can say without a doubt that you are loved. By Marianne and Tom, who chose you and cherished every moment with you, and by Nora, who has been there for you in ways that go beyond biology. Tears welled in my eyes as I looked at Arthur gratefully. In that moment, I saw him not just as Marianne's old friend or Ethan's mentor, but as a man of compassion and strength. Ethan nodded, a small smile playing at his lips. I know, it's a lot to process, but I'm glad I know the truth now. And I'm glad you're my mom, Nora. Both of you, you and Marianne. As the night wore on, we talked, really talked, about everything. The past, the present, our fears and hopes for the future. And as the first light of dawn crept through the windows, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known in years. Ethan yawned, stretching. I should get some sleep. Big day tomorrow, starting the new job and all. As he headed to his room, he paused, looking back at Arthur and me. You know, you two make a pretty good team. With that, he was gone, leaving Arthur and me alone. We looked at each other, a spark of something new and exciting passing between us. He's right, Arthur said softly. We do make a good team. I smiled, feeling the weight of the past lifting from my shoulders. Yes, we do. As Arthur took my hand, I realized that this wasn't just an ending, it was a new beginning. For Ethan, stepping into his future with the truth as his foundation. For me, finding love and companionship when I least expected it. And for all of us, as a family, bound not by blood or obligation, but by choice and love. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in a long time, I was excited to see where it would lead. Together, we would face whatever came our way, stronger and more resilient than ever before.